Hello, my friends. I hope you are all doing well and staying safe wherever you are right now. Before we begin today's video, I want to say something from my heart. In the name of Allah, the most kind, the most merciful, may we all be protected from things we cannot see and things we do not understand. Today's video is not just for entertainment. These are the kinds of stories that stay with you. The kind that come back to your mind when you are alone, or when the lights are off, or when you hear a small sound in your room at night. So if you are someone who gets scared easily, or if you are watching this late at night, I would suggest you stay a little careful. Maybe keep a light on. Maybe don't sit completely alone. Because the stories you are about to hear, they don't feel fake. They feel like something that could happen. Or maybe something that already happened to someone. Also, before we go into the first story, I want to talk about something many of you ask me again and again. A lot of you say, why do you bring so many truck driver stories? Why are most of your stories about people on the road? And the answer is very simple. People who drive trucks spend long hours alone. They travel far distances, sometimes between cities, sometimes between countries. They pass through empty roads, dark highways, forests, deserts, places where there is nothing around for miles. Most of the time, they drive at night, when everything is quiet, when most people are asleep, and when you are alone for that long. Your mind starts noticing things more. Small sounds feel bigger. Shadows feel darker. And sometimes, you see things that you cannot explain. That is why those stories feel real. That is why they stay with you. Because those people are not trying to make stories. They are just telling what they experienced. But today, I did not bring a truck driver story. Today's stories are different. These are stories from normal people. People with normal lives. People who never expected something like this to happen to them. And that is what makes it even more scary. Because when something like this happens in a normal place, a house, a job, a simple night, it makes you think, what if this happens to me? So I want you to sit back, listen carefully, and don't miss the small details. Because sometimes, the smallest detail is the most important part. Now, let's move to the first story. This story happened when I was around 22 or 23 years old. At that time in my life, I was still trying to figure things out. I needed a job, something simple, something that could help me earn money while I planned my future. That's when I got a job as a security guard. The place where I worked was a factory. It was not a small place. It was actually quite large, with multiple sections. Long hallways, storage areas, and open spaces that felt even bigger at night. During the day, the place was normal. Workers moved around, machines made noise, and everything felt alive. But at night, it was completely different. At night, the factory felt empty, quiet in a way that almost felt unnatural, like the building itself was holding its breath. My shift was at night. I was responsible for staying there, watching the place, and making sure nothing unusual happened. Most nights were very boring. I would sit in a small room, sometimes walk around, check doors, check corners, and then go back to my chair. Nothing ever really happened. And after a few days, I got used to it. Stopped feeling nervous. I started thinking this was the easiest job in the world. But then, one night came. And that night changed everything. It started like any other night. I arrived at my shift, checked the area, and sat down in my usual place. Everything was normal. To normal. Time was passing slowly. I remember checking the time again and again. Minutes felt longer than usual. At some point, I felt a strange kind of silence. Not just quiet, but heavy silence, like something was off. Tried to ignore it. I told myself I was just overthinking. Maybe I was tired. Then I heard something, a small sound, very light. but clear enough that I noticed it. At first, I thought maybe something fell somewhere, or maybe it was just the building making noise, so I stayed where I was. But then, a few seconds later, I heard it again. This time, it was different. It sounded like a step, a slow, careful step. Now I was paying attention. I stood up from my chair and looked toward the hallway. Everything looked the same. Nothing was moving. I waited. Silence again. For a moment, I almost convinced myself it was nothing, but deep inside, something didn't feel right. And then, I saw someone. At first I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, because what I saw didn't make sense. There, at the end of the hallway, I saw a figure, someone standing still, not moving. I focused my eyes, trying to understand who it was, and then I realized it was a girl. She looked young, maybe in her early 20s. She was just standing there, facing in my direction, but not really moving or reacting. The first thought in my mind was simple. How did she get in here? This place was not open to the public. At night, it was completely closed. No one should be inside except me. I started walking toward her slowly. At that moment, I was not thinking about fear. I was thinking about my job. Maybe someone had entered without permission. Maybe she needed help. As I got closer, something started to feel off. She wasn't reacting. Most people, if they see someone walking toward them in a quiet, empty place, would say something, or at least move a little. But she didn't. She just stood there, completely still. I stopped a few steps away from her. "Hey, how did you get in here?" I asked. No answer. She didn't even look surprised. Now I was starting to feel uncomfortable. I tried again, a little louder this time. "Hello, you can't be here. This place is closed." Still nothing. She slowly lifted her head, and when I saw her face clearly, something inside me changed. Her expression was empty. Not sad, not angry, not scared, just empty. Her eyes looked at me, but it didn't feel like she was really looking at me. It felt like she was looking through me. That was the moment I felt the first real fear. A cold feeling moved through my body, but I tried to stay calm. "Are you okay?" I asked. She did not answer. Instead, she took a step forward, very slowly, and then another one. Now, she was walking toward me, but the way she walked, it wasn't normal. It was slow, almost like her body was not fully in control. Every step felt wrong. I took a step back without thinking, then another. My heart started beating faster. Something was not right. Not at all. As she kept walking toward me, I felt this strong instinct telling me one thing: get away. I didn't know why. I didn't understand what was happening. But every part of my body was telling me to move back, so I did. I started stepping away slowly at first, keeping my eyes on her. She didn't stop. She kept coming closer. Same slow steps. Same empty face. No sound. No words. Nothing. The hallway suddenly felt longer than before. The air felt heavier. Even breathing felt harder. I turned around and started walking faster. Then I heard something that made everything worse. Her steps. They were faster now. I turned my head slightly. She was closer. Much closer than before. That's when I stopped walking. And I started running. I didn't care about anything else anymore. I just wanted to get out of that hallway, get to a place where I felt safe. My footsteps echoed loudly as I ran. Behind me, I could hear her. She was moving faster. Not normal running, but fast. Too fast. I reached a corner and turned quickly, almost slipping. My heart was beating so loud I could hear it in my ears. I didn't look back this time. I just kept running, until I reached the main room where I usually stayed. I rushed inside and closed the door hard behind me. For a few seconds, I just stood there, breathing heavily, listening, waiting, silence, no footsteps, nothing. It was like everything suddenly stopped. But that silence, it did not make me feel safe. It made me feel worse, because I knew something like that doesn't just disappear. I stood there for a long time, just listening. My breathing was slowly getting back to normal, but my body still felt tense. I didn't move. I didn't even sit down. I was just waiting, trying to understand what just happened. After a few minutes, I told myself something simple. Maybe she left. Maybe she turned around. Maybe she went somewhere else in the building. Maybe. It was not what I thought. I didn't fully believe it. But I needed something to hold on to. I slowly walked toward the door. My hand was on the handle, but I didn't open it right away. I listened again. Nothing. No footsteps. No sound. Just silence. I opened the door a little. Just enough to look outside. The hallway was empty. Completely empty. I stepped out slowly, looking left and right. There was no one there. I walked a few steps forward, checking every corner, every side. Nothing. It was like she was never there. But I knew what I saw. I knew what I heard. That wasn't something my mind created. I kept checking the entire area that night, every hallway, every room that I had access to. No sign of her. No open doors. No broken windows. No way someone could have entered or left. That's when the fear changed. Before, I was scared of her. Now, I was scared of not understanding what she was. Because a normal person cannot just disappear like that. The rest of the night felt endless. Every small sound made me jump. Every shadow felt like it was moving. I didn't sit anymore. I stayed awake, walking, checking, trying to keep myself busy, waiting for morning. When my shift finally ended, I didn't feel relief the way I expected. I felt confused, tired, and still scared. The next day I asked the other workers if anyone had seen a girl in the building. Maybe during the day. Maybe someone knew. They all said the same thing. No. No one knew anything. No one had seen anyone. No one even believed me at first. They thought I was joking, or maybe imagining things. After that, I never saw her again. Not once, but sometimes, when I think about that night, I still remember her face, that empty expression, those slow steps, and the way she looked at me, like I was not even there. That was my story. Now, before you think that was the only strange thing that can happen to someone, let me tell you something else. The next story is very different. It does not happen in a workplace. It does not happen in one night. It happens in a home. A normal home, with a normal family. And what makes this story even more disturbing is that it didn't end quickly. It stayed. It grew, and it affected everyone. So listen carefully. Because this one is harder to forget. My name is not real, but you can call me Hussein. I am from a city called Bahawalpur. It is a normal place, with normal people, normal streets, and normal homes. Nothing about my life was unusual before this. This story is about my family, and what we experienced is something that stayed with us for a very long time. It did not begin in a dramatic way. There was no big moment at the start. Everything began slowly. So slowly that we did not even realize it at first. We had just moved into a new house. The house was not very old. It looked fine from the outside. Inside, everything seemed normal too. There was nothing that made us feel scared in the beginning. In fact, we were happy. A new place meant a fresh start, more space, a different environment. Everything felt okay. But after the first few days, something started to feel different. It is hard to explain, because nothing was clearly wrong. But the feeling in the house, it was not comfortable. It was a kind of silence that didn't feel natural. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that makes you feel like something is missing. Or maybe something is there that you cannot see. At first we ignored it. We told ourselves this is normal. Every new house feels strange in the beginning. You are not used to the sounds, the walls, the space. So we continued our lives as usual. Days passed. Nothing big happened, until the small things started. At first, it was something very simple. An object would not be where we left it. A chair would be slightly moved. A door would be a little open, even though we were sure we closed it. We didn't think much about it. We blamed each other. Maybe you moved it. No, I didn't touch it. These small conversations happened again and again, but no one took it seriously. Not yet. Then came the sounds. At night. Very light at first. Almost impossible to notice. Like a small movement in another room, or a soft step. Sometimes we would stop and listen, but then it would go quiet again. So we told ourselves the same thing every time. It's nothing. It's just the house. It's just in our heads. But deep inside, a small part of us was starting to feel something else. Something we did not want to say out loud. As the days turned into weeks, those small things did not stop. In fact, they started happening more often. Now, it was not just one thing every few days. It was something almost every day. Objects moved more clearly. Doors were not just slightly open. Sometimes they were wide open, and no one knew who opened them. At night, the sounds became easier to hear. No longer just soft noises. Now it sounded like actual footsteps. Slow, careful, like someone walking inside the house, trying not to be noticed. That was the part that scared us the most, because those steps did not sound random. They felt intentional, like someone was there, moving, watching, listening. My mother was the first person who truly felt it. She started to feel uncomfortable, especially at night. She would say things like, "I don't feel alone in this house," even when all of us were there, even when we were sitting together. She said it felt like someone else was also there, but not visible. At first we tried to calm her down. We told her she was just stressed. Maybe the move affected her. Maybe she was just tired. But then, she started waking up at night, more than once, and every time, she said the same thing. "I heard something, not just a random sound, but something close, very close, like someone walking right outside her room, or standing near her." Sometimes, she said she heard her name, very softly, like a whisper. That was the moment things started to change for all of us. Because hearing a sound is one thing, but hearing your name, when no one is calling you, that is different. That is something you cannot easily ignore. After my mother started saying these things, the feeling inside the house changed for all of us. Before, we were unsure. We tried to ignore everything. We made excuses. But now, it was getting harder to pretend nothing was wrong. My father was the kind of person who did not believe in these things easily. He always tried to find a logical reason. He didn't like the idea of fear taking control of the house. He told us many times, there was always an explanation, and we wanted to believe him. We really did. But then, something happened to him. One night, he was resting in the living room. It was late. The house was quiet. Everyone else was either sleeping or in their rooms. He was lying down, not fully asleep, just resting. And then, he felt something. At first, it was very light, like the feeling of someone sitting down next to him. The couch moved slightly, just enough for him to notice. His first thought was simple. He thought it was my mother. So he didn't react right away. But then something felt wrong, because he did not hear footsteps. He did not hear anyone coming into the room. and the weight next to him. It didn't feel normal. Slowly, he turned his head and looked. There was no one there. The space next to him was empty, but he clearly felt it. He sat up immediately, now fully awake. His heart started beating faster. He looked around the room. Nothing. No movement. No sound. Just silence. But this time, it wasn't the same silence as before. This silence felt like it was hiding something. When he told us this, the next day, everything changed. Because now, it wasn't just one person feeling something. It wasn't just sounds. Now it was physical. Something we could not explain. Something we could not deny anymore. After that, the fear spread to everyone. No one wanted to stay alone, not even during the day. We started moving together inside the house. If someone went to another room, someone else followed. At night, it was even worse. No one wanted to sleep alone. Sometimes, we would all stay in the same room just to feel safe. But even together, that feeling never fully went away. As time passed, the house itself started to feel different. It is hard to explain in simple words, but it felt like the space around us had changed. The air felt heavier, like it was harder to breathe sometimes. Rooms that were normal before started to feel uncomfortable, especially at night. There were moments when everything was quiet, too quiet, and then suddenly, a sound, something falling, a door moving, a small knock. Every time it happened, we all froze. We listened carefully, trying to understand where it came from, but when we went to check, there was nothing. Nothing moved, nothing broken, nothing out of place. But we all heard it. That was the worst part. If it was just one person, we could say it was imagination. But when everyone hears the same thing, you cannot ignore it anymore. My younger family members became very scared. They started crying at night. They didn't want to sleep. They didn't want to be alone even for a minute. My mother became quieter. She stopped talking as much as before. She spent more time thinking and praying. She said one thing many times. There is something in this house, and it does not want us here. At first, those words sounded too heavy, too serious. But after everything we experienced, they started to feel true. Then one night, something happened that we could not explain at all. We were all sitting together, trying to feel safe, trying to ignore everything, and suddenly, we heard a loud sound. Very loud, like something heavy fell to the ground in another room. Not a small noise. Not something light, something strong. We all looked at each other. No one spoke. For a few seconds, no one moved, because we all felt the same thing. Fear. For a few seconds after that loud sound, no one moved. It was like we were all frozen. We were sitting in the same room, looking at each other, waiting for someone to say something first. But no one did, because we all knew one thing. That sound did not come from something small. It was heavy, clear, real. My father was the first one to stand up. You could see that he did not want to go. But he also knew that someone had to check. He took a deep breath and slowly started walking toward the room where the sound came from. We followed him, not too close, but not too far either. No one wanted to be left behind. Every step felt slow. The house was completely silent again. No second sound. No movement. Just that heavy, quiet feeling. When we reached the door of the room, my father stopped. He looked at the door for a moment, then slowly pushed it open. The door made a soft sound as it moved. We all looked inside, and everything looked normal. Nothing was broken. Nothing was on the floor. Nothing was out of place. It didn't make sense. Because the sound we heard, it should have left something behind. A chair falling, an object breaking, something, but there was nothing. My father stepped inside first, Then we followed. As soon as we entered the room, we all felt it. At the same time, it was not something we saw. It was something we felt. The air in that room was different, heavier, colder, hard to explain. It felt like the room was not empty, even though we could not see anyone. It felt like something was there, with us, watching, not moving, not making a sound, just there. No one spoke. No one moved too much. We just stood there for a few seconds, but those seconds felt very long. Then my father said quietly, "Let's go," and we left the room. Slowly, without turning our backs to. Quickly that night, no one slept. After that night, everything became clearer. Not clearer in a good way, but clearer in understanding one thing. This was not normal. This was not imagination. This was not just sounds or stress. Something was happening, and it was getting stronger. The next morning, the house felt different again. But now, it wasn't just a feeling. It was something we all accepted. We stopped making excuses. We stopped saying maybe. Now we started asking, what is this? And, more importantly, what do we do? My mother was the one who spoke first. She said we needed help, not from neighbors, not from friends, but from someone who understands these things, someone who has seen this before. At first, my father stayed quiet. You could tell he didn't want to accept it fully. But after everything, he didn't say no, because deep inside, he also knew. So we decided to talk to someone who deals with things like this. When we explained everything, he listened very carefully. He did not interrupt. He did not laugh. He did not say we were imagining things. Instead, his face became serious. He asked us questions, small details. When it started, how it changed, what exactly we felt. After we finished, he stayed silent for a moment. Then he said something that made us all feel uneasy. He said, "Sometimes these things don't come by accident. Sometimes they are sent." Those words stayed in my mind. Sent, that means someone wanted this. He told us to be careful, to stay together, to pray more, and to not ignore any sign. When we left, we felt something strange. A small sense of relief, because someone believed us. But at the same time, more fear, because now, this had meaning. After that meeting, we started to change the way we lived inside the house. We stayed together more often. We avoided being alone, especially at night. Even small things like going to another room felt different now. My mother began praying more regularly, not just at certain times, but almost throughout the day whenever she felt uneasy. It gave her some comfort, and slowly, we all followed that routine in our own way. For a while, nothing big happened. No loud sounds, no clear footsteps, no strong events like before, but the feeling. It did not disappear completely. It was still there, just weaker, like something that had stepped back, but not fully gone. There were still moments when the house felt heavy. Moments when silence returned in that same, uncomfortable way. But it wasn't as intense as before. Still, we didn't trust it. Because after everything we experienced, we knew one thing. Just because something is quiet, doesn't mean it is gone. Days passed, then weeks. And slowly, things became more normal. We started sleeping better. The younger ones were less afraid. We could move around the house without feeling watched all the time. But even then, the memory stayed. The feeling stayed. And that was enough for us to make a decision. We decided to leave the house. Not because things were still happening strongly, but because we didn't want to wait for them to come back. We didn't want to risk it, so we moved. It wasn't an easy decision, but it was the right one. After we left, everything changed. The fear was gone. The nights were quiet again, but this time, It was a normal quiet, a peaceful one. No footsteps, no whispers, no strange feelings, just normal life. And that was something we truly appreciated after everything. Even now, after all this time, we still talk about those days. Sometimes we try to explain it. Sometimes we just remember it. But one thing is always the same. We never forget how it felt. Because when something like that happens to you, it stays with you. Not just in your memory, but somewhere deeper. That was my story. My friends, if you listened until this point, thank you. Stories like these are not easy to hear, especially late at night. But many of you ask for real experiences. The kind that feel true, the kind that stay with you after the video ends. And these are those stories. If you want more videos like this, more real experiences, more stories about things we cannot fully explain, let me know. You can write in the comments what kind of stories you want next. And if you liked this video, don't forget to support it. It really helps more people find these stories. Until next time, stay safe and take care of yourself.